This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
All right. Good morning, Ira. How are you doing, sir?
Surprised that for a degree I'll be going back to Milwaukee on Wednesday and that there'll be another playoff game beyond tonight at Kaseya Center, whether it's game 6 against the Bucks, dare I say game 3 against the Knicks. That's, I didn't see this coming. I didn't see Giannis being hurt coming. But still,
this whole thing changed with the Giannis injury. It changes the complexion of the entire.
And credit to the Heat, and they took advantage of it, just like last season against Philadelphia. Joel Embiid missed the first 2 games of the Eastern Conference semifinals. The Heat took advantage of it. I will say this, Big O, having listened to your crosstalk before our Acura Pembroke Pines report today, the Milwaukee Bucks without Giannis probably are still as good as, say, the Cleveland Cavaliers as a 4 or 5 seed. So there still is a quality opponent that the Heat has competed with. Not the number 1 Bucks, not the ultimate top seed in the playoffs, but they still have shown in 2 victories against quality competition, Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis, solid core of players. They've played well. Give them credit. They've still have found a way. Same thing with the Panthers. The Panthers are playing a Bruins team without their top player so far. They haven't shown as much. So you have to give the Heat credit. They've taken advantage of this situation.
I wouldn't compare the two overall with the Panthers and the Heat, but yeah, it's just Giannis is an absolute game changer. He changes the complexion of everything because he's a superstar. He's just he's only one of 4 or 5 players like that in the entire league. So, and again, I give the Heat credit that they've won. They've taken advantage of this situation. Doesn't really mean that we're watching a team that's kind of solved their issues. I'll tell you this, the one thing that has been frustrating, and I put it out on Twitter, Pat Riley doesn't really get a lot of breaks. If you really look at it in the 20-something years that he's been here, right? I talked about this before, the Shaq and Wade title. You had Howard, the trade reversed. You had Tim Hardaway breaking down multiple times with the Achilles injury, ending seasons for the Heat. You had Zoe's kidney issue, overall. And these are all these kind of, like, you trade for Dan Marley, he blows out his back. We never get to see Thunder Dan. We end up seeing 3-point Dan, after that. Credit to him. He changes his body and he changes his game and all that. But, Riley traded for Thunder Dan. We never got Thunder Dan here. And then finally you get your title. And then now the next go around, it's the Chris Bosh blood clots. It's Bam and Dragon getting injured in the bubble. It's Tyler and Lowry last year. It's now Oladipo and Tyler this year. It's like, dude, in the 25 years, if you look at it, Jesus Christ, there are so many things that have gone on with this organization and setbacks. And it's just like, it's really frustrating. And I commend them because, they fight through all these adversities. And, we could also talk about some of the bad decisions that have gone on too, which then compound all of that. But they've had a lot of bad breaks in the quarter century that Riley has been here.
Yeah, but you know what? Again, when you talk about a quarter century, just like any family, an extended family, things happen to all teams along the way because we follow this team so close for so long. You could also look at when they get players. They got an older Tim Hardaway. They knew he had knee issues. It was bone on bone with no cartilage in there. That's going to happen. They got Dan Marley way past his Thunder Dan era with the Suns. He was an older player. Remember, they signed him when the Juwan Howard thing was reversed back to Washington at the time. So it's when you get players. Kyle Lowry last year, hey, he was 36 last year. An older player, that can happen. Victor Oladipo, look, it is not shocking that Victor Oladipo has an injury. It's the other knee. God bless Vic, Godspeed to him. But it's not like it's completely heretofore unseen. You spoke to me on Friday's Acura Pembroke Pines report how unfortunately Tyler Hero can be prone to these types of injuries. We're seeing it again. So it's sort of what you start working with, that lump of clay, there's going to be imperfections. The Thunderbolts you mentioned, Alonso's kidney, no one saw that coming. Alonso didn't know he had kidney illness. Chris Bosh, blood clots, no one saw that coming. Chris Bosh didn't know he had blood clots. Those kinds of things that come out of the blue can absolutely destroy the progress.
Goron in the bubble.
But again, injuries happen. We've seen in the playoffs. I mentioned Joel Embiid. We see every year player Kawhi Leonard now with the knee. Paul George being out for the Clippers. They were a conference favorite at one point. Those things happen along the way. When you don't have the depth of talent, and I wrote this at the Sun Sentinel now you're down Tyler Hero. Now you're down Victor Oladipo. Basically, you have two ball-handling guards left in Gabe Vincent and a 37-year-old Kyle Lowry. So when you have the kind of depth of talent where you're carrying a Udonis Haslem, where you're hoping for a Haywood Highsmith and a bunch of other undrafted guys, Omer Yurtseven, guys like that, you have an imbalanced roster, you wind up in trouble also. If you have a perfectly managed roster, you can overcome some of this. But who really has a perfectly managed roster? So yes, when you lose your number one shooting guard, when you lose your number two shooting guard, you're kind of screwed. Just like the Bucks, when you lose your superstar, power forward, MVP, top 3 candidate, that's what happens.
All right. So the Oladipo thing, what's
I would say tragic because he has a lot of money. He's had a good career. He's got to play pro basketball. But, I mean, that's one of those non-contact injuries you see and you say that's not good. We're talking months that it's going to take to recover. Remember, he has a $9 million, $9.5 million player option for next season. He could use the stretch payment to have to pay him off over 3 years, get off of some of that money. They can apply to the NBA for a disabled player exception and get it, but they're so far over the tax, they probably can't use it anyway. So you move on. Look, Victor Oladipo was never a critical component. When you and I sat down on our first Acura Pembroke Pines reports before the playoffs, I don't think you and I had Vic Oladipo in our top 8 or 9 players who were difference makers. The difference is then Tyler Hero went out and Victor became a more important component. Yeah, they're kind of screwed. They don't have a lot of guards. So the logical, easy answer is this, Orlando Alzugaray, is play Jimmy Moore as a ball handler. Big O, how much can you add to the guy's plate? You're asking him to score every time, defend the other team's best players, get some rebounds, play major minutes. There's so much you could pile on the guy where eventually he's going to say, Uncle, he is doing everything he can. Matter of fact, if you would have an MVP of the playoffs, not just the finals, but of the playoffs, you can make an argument that Jimmy Butler has been as good as any player this postseason so far.
You know, the postseason's 3 games.
Hey, the postseason's 2 weeks. I'm just saying, going into this and what you've seen so far,
all of you are either writing or talking about, well, Duncan Robinson is the best 3-point shooter in the NBA.
No, that was one game. That was one. This is a guy over 3 games who has sustained and done what he did. And also, we know playoff Jimmy, and he does get activated, and he is a different player.
Playoff Jimmy's a badass, period, no matter what. Correct. That has nothing to do with it. But, you know, it's just kind of funny, the whole Duncan Robinson. Well, he's the best 3-point shooter in the NBA or playoffs right now.
Not me, not going there.
We played 3 games. Relax. So, and by the way, most of his stats come from the last game and a half, right? Not really.
Yeah, and the fourth quarter was meaningless of game 2 in Milwaukee.
Yeah,
I mean, he had 14 points. You were playing the G League Bucks. Yeah, you were playing the G League Bucks. You were playing the Wisconsin Herd in that. Last game was meaningful. He got the Bucks to take notice. Now we see, as we've asked all season, Big O, can he sustain?
Right, exactly. It's just, please, don't tell me that he's the number 1 3-point shooter in the NBA. We're getting a little crazy here, you know, overall. All right, so what happens tonight? Giannis plays, right? I mean, I
assume Giannis plays. He went through a fairly grueling individual workout. He had an assistant coach leaning on his back. He was doing entry passes and spin moves in the post. So I think he does because, look, his entire season is almost riding on this game. You go down 3-1. The Miami Heat then have 3 puncher's chances to get 1 win, and everything changes. I fully expect him out there unless the injury is simply more serious that he can't sustain the pain and has a pain tolerance issue. We'll see on that. I would expect him out there. If you're asking percentages, I'd say at least 75% that he plays tonight.
I think 100% he plays tonight because he knows That team can get easily eliminated if they lose tonight. They go down 3-1, kind of like what we're seeing with the Panthers and the
But
Bruins.
Big O, we
Really
also
hard to have any hope down 3-1 almost in any situation.
we have to see what he looks like. Again,
Yeah.
Milwaukee was very good without him in game 2. And if
By
he's
the way-
limited and not ambulatory and he's not the one-man defender, it could hurt the Bucks also. So all eyes will be on Giannis when he goes out for that opening tip. Is he fully mobile? Again, in game 1, he was injured, stayed on the court, and then realized, hey, I'm not myself. I'm hurting my team. So this won't just be a if Giannis plays. This will be how much Giannis plays, how well Giannis plays.
Now, by the way, all Heat eyes will be on Jimmy too to see how mobile and agile Jimmy is too after his fall. Because
again, Jimmy is listed as questionable, the same listing as Giannis. Yeah, they're both listed as questionable tonight. So you have to wait and see. But we know Jimmy Butler's an MFer. He had his day off. He's going to come out here. You're right. If Jimmy is not fully mobile, the Heat are in big, big, big trouble because you're already down Tyler. You're already down Vic, and now you'd be down Jimmy also. So, yeah, the injury report will be fluid and interesting as we go through the day.
How do we measure Bam?
It's funny. Someone from my newspaper asked me this today, and I said, what Bam is showing is what a lot of people, including Big O, have mentioned. He's not playing like a playoff number 2. He's not supporting Jimmy Butler the way a number 2 would support him. I think he's supporting him like a number 3. And so right now, Jimmy doesn't have that 1-in-1A guy next to him.
No,
and Tyler has never fully been that because he's a little bit erratic. He's been up and down. He's not a defender. So, yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see if Bam steps up his game or, again, you know what, whether it's our Acura Pembroke Pines report or RedRecover.com Inside the Paint on Wednesdays, that's why you mentioned the Lillards. That's why you mentioned the Bradley Beals, because right now Jimmy Butler deserves a little bit more than what he's getting from his secondary component.
Ira, what is it about the Bams and the Barkovs? It's that nice guy syndrome, right? But then we've covered the Wades and the PJ Browns. Super fucking nice guys also.
Right.
But there's no nicer guy in the world than PJ Brown. There's no classier guy in the world than PJ Brown. Now, when he gets on the court,
he's an MFer.
He's going to cut your fucking heart out. Just like Dwayne Wade with his little baby face and his smile and his all-American boy looks and all that. But then when he gets on the court, he wants to cut your effing heart out. And when I look at Barkov and I look at Bam, I look at 2 really nice guys. And then when I look at them on the court or the ice, once again, I continue to look at really nice guys. And there's a difference. And I just gave you the example. You can compartmentalize. You can be 2 different people. You can be a completely decent human being, nice off the court, or off the ice. And then when you get on the ice, you're a different person. What is it about Barkov and Bam that they don't have and bring that edge or find it somewhere? They can just flash you the amazing talents that they have, but they will not impose their talents on you constantly.
I would look at Bam a little different. I think your PJ Brown example is very good for this reason. Bam is being asked to sort of David against Samson the entire time, pushing that rock up the hill. He is undersized for his position. He just is. He goes in at a size deficit and a weight deficit. PJ Brown had Alonzo Mourning, that MFer alongside of him in the starting lineup.
Undersized in a real center league.
He is, when you look at Bam Adebayo, when he goes against a Brook Lopez or bigger centers, this is sort of what we've seen, not just this year, but for years. He's playing an undersized position, so he's trying the floaters, he's trying the finesse game. Look, there's an ongoing debate. You see it, you read it. Is Bam a center? Is he a power forward? Doesn't really matter what he is. It's what the Heat need him to be because of how their roster is built. That's why we thought maybe he played with Yurtsevic.
Is he a bad mofo or is he not? And then I
think he could be, in your words, a bad mofo at power forward. Because some of the Bam Adebayo's best basketball, do you know when it was, Big O? When he played alongside Kelly Olynyk and Myers Leonard, including the great block on Jason Tatum in the bubble in the playoffs. When he played alongside a 7-footer who could present that size and box out and open up the middle for him a little bit more. So Bam is being asked to go above and beyond his pedigree as far as size. That's the second battle. You might be right. You might be right about the intensity.
Hold on a second. Here's where I completely disagree with you. This is not a center league anymore. There aren't a lot of centers anymore. He's not facing he's not undersized every single night.
But he is in this series.
In this series, but he's
and
rarely
against Joel Embiid.
He's rarely undersized in this league. Alonzo Mourning was undersized nearly every single night, but he had that dog in him that at 6'9" he could block a 7-foot or a 7'1".
He also had those muscles in him. He was built different than Bam. Bam has a nice physique. Alonzo Mourning could have gone to a He-Man competition. That's the difference.
Alonzo Mourning also was a junkyard dog. Okay, besides that, at 6'9", he had to be a junkyard dog to face David Robinson and Akeem Olajuwon and Shaquille O'Neal and Patrick Ewing and Mark Eaton and whatever the hell else he faced throughout his damn career, that he faced a whole bunch of huge human beings. But he always, this is why this guy was practicing with the Olympic team coming out of high school, going to Georgetown. He was practicing with the Olympic team because Alonzo Mourning was a junkyard dog. I don't see that out of Bam or Barkov. I don't see the son of a bitch in them.
Because
that's what I think and maybe, you know what? Maybe Barkov and Bam can't find that because it's not who they are. You know who I compared Bam to? Jamal Mashburn.
No, I just think it's different. Jamal Mashburn was a small forward. It's a different position.
No, but Jamal Mashburn was a small forward, and this guy's either power forward or a center, whatever you want to look at him. But they're both supreme athletes and super talented. But they were both really nice guys, really decent human beings, and neither guy was an MFer. And that's what stopped Mashburn from actually being and passing the ball off to Weatherspoon, because he wasn't an MFer. And Bam, too. Bam's good to be a facilitator, a guy that, sets up the picks, all that kind of stuff, get the rebound, a block shot. But it's not like he's demanding to be the star. And to me, that's my problem with Bam. He has the Jamal Mashburn thing in him that he just doesn't bring that edge.
That, to me, is a physique and build more than a mentality. Alexander Barkov's best skills are as a finesse player. They just are. He's not Keith Kachuk. He plays a different game. Bam Adebayo's best skill set is as a perimeter player. Remember, Alonzo, and I don't mean to demean, Alonzo Mourning was mostly an incompetent scorer outside of the paint. He had that little jumper from the foul line. You play to your strengths.
In the 90s. That was his game, and that was fine in the 90s.
You play to your strength. Bam Adebayo is playing to his strength. He's not a shot blocker. He's a switcher. He's a team defender. That's what he does. I don't think you can change someone like that. I don't think you can make Alexander Barkov a power forward. I don't think you can make Bam Adebayo a center.
I don't think you can make either guy a son of a bitch. That's my problem.
I don't think you have to be a son of a bitch.
Another two more examples.
Sure.
Okay. Zoe, undersized, son of a bitch. Tayshaun Prince, when he came out of school, that dude proved me wrong, because I looked at his skinny ass and I said, oh my God, this guy's going to get railroaded in this league. And you know what? Tayshaun Prince ended up having a pretty damn good career, and he proved to be a son of a bitch because he was a tough, skinny dude. Dennis Rodman comes into this league as undersized as it gets, the greatest rebounder I have ever seen in my life over anybody that's 6 inches taller than him. Either you got the edge or you don't. Either you're Theo Fleury and you're 5'2" and you're going to skate your ass off and you're going to be a badass and you're going to do your job and you're going to be one of the best. You're going to overcome your size. Some guys either have it, no matter what size they are, Allen Iverson, whatever. To me, that dog is missing.
Which is the better shot? A feathery floater in the lane that goes in, or being an MFer going hard to the rim, leaning back, smashing and getting blocked by Brook Lopez? Which is the better shot?
use your athleticism to get past Brook Lopez and slam on his ass.
He's still 7'9". He's still there. He still has the reach. So I think you play to your skills at the moment. Again, against a Lopez, against an Embiid, against guys like that, yes, Bam has come up short. Against other guys in other matchups, he's been just fine. It's just a matter of you're asking him to be more than he physically is. So you have to have your tempered expectations because of that.
All right, who's Robin tonight?
Yeah, well, again, there's not a lot of choices without Tyler. Again, I think the Robin could be the three-point shooters, whether it's Duncan again, whether it's Max Strus, whether it's Gabe Vincent. You're going to have that inside-outside angle. I do agree. I am not denying for you. Bam Adebayo has to be better in this series. I know we got a double-double last game. It was not good enough in a game if Giannis comes back and plays. So I would say, number one, Bam Adebayo has to be a better number two. And number two, the three-point shooters have to make their shots. Giannis changes the complexion, looks like 2-2 going back to Milwaukee. But you know what? The Heat have shocked us in moments all season. Maybe they shock us again. First, I want to see what Giannis looks like.
Win the rebounding award today. Big time. Make sure you don't give them second shots and things like that.
Absolutely.
Don't let them
and you know what? And again, that's a perfect comparison to your hockey comparison. Just like Bob, make sure you don't give up juicy rebounds like he did last night for the Panthers. Yes, you can't work your ass off on defense in basketball or in hockey and then have the other team get the rebound and get to start all over again. I agree with that.
That Bob and the Ekblad contracts. Oof, wow. Holy moly. Poor Ekblad, man. That guy just could never hold up, man. He's got a gift. The Lord gave him a gift, unfortunately, but man, he has been so unreliable.
Yeah, Bob and Ekblad sort of equal, Lowry and Robinson, and you get hamstrung in salary cap leagues because of that.
Yeah, big time. All right, what do you got going on the Sun Sentinel leading up to the game?
Had a nice conversation with Cody Martin, Caleb Martin's brother, after the game the other day. He's in town watching. And I said, man, your brother, when he gets that look in his eyes and gets hypnotized, he's a crazy man. And he told me back when they were playing at Oak Hill Academy in Virginia, the coach there called both of them psycho because of the way they went on the court and they played all out. We've seen Caleb Martin for years. We know how Cody Martin plays. The Heat need that. The Heat need a little bit more psycho tonight. Caleb Martin was very, very good in Game 3. I wrote about it. That's at sunsentinel.com right now.
Oak Hill Academy. Didn't Zoe go there too?
Zoe was, I believe that's where Zoe went also before he went to Georgetown. Yes, you caught me off guard, but I believe so.
And the ultimate high school free agent in the history of time, Stephen Blake, also went to it. Stephen Blake was the best. Stephen Blake was a kid that was supposed to go to Killian, but went to Miami Lakes, then went to Miami High and won the title there, and then went to Oak Hill Academy
and built a career for himself. God bless him.
Hell of a career, but he was the ultimate high school free agent before anybody else, man. That guy mastered it and played in 3 awesome basketball programs. But meanwhile, Schaefer, who, by the way, lost the job to Shaky in Miami High because, God, what was the name of the coach before Shaky? Because those 2 guys were assistants to the Miami, who's a great high school coach. And
Cesar Odio, you thinking of?
No. Odio came after. I got to remember the name. But anyway, so he decides Shaky over Schaefer. Schaefer goes to, no, wait a minute. It is Schaefer. Who's the guy that went to Killian? He was pissed always at Miami High and Shaky. And then he was also pissed that Stephen Blake didn't go to his school. Ended up going to Miami Lakes. That was a big thing back in the day. But anyway, whatever. It is what it is. Ira, follow him on Twitter at Ira Heatbeat, and catch his work there at the South Florida Sun Sentinel. Ira, thank you for the time. We will catch up later on in the week.
Wednesday, 9 a.m. or 8 for me back in Milwaukee. Same hotel room for RedRecover.com Inside the Paint with Kurt Heelan. We'll have a better sense of whether this is a 2-2 series or whether the Heat truly have something special brewing. Talk to you all on Wednesday. Thanks, Big O.
There you go. Beautiful curtains in that hotel. That is your Acura Pembroke Pines Miami Heat and NBA report.